Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled "Jealous Karen hired a tow company to steal my car and move it to a remote location." Maybe I am just out of the loop, or I think in an old-fashioned way, but I think the right response to being jealous is just quietly seething about it. Keep it to yourself, or maybe even tell a few friends about it. I guess if you're a jealous person and want a guide on the worst possible thing to do, you should keep reading, because that is exactly what my neighbor did. Trust me though, that if you follow her lead, you might find yourself extremely hated or maybe even in jail. I had been saving up for years to replace my old beat-up junker of a car with something nicer. Well, that day finally came, and I came home riding in my gorgeous new sports car. Now, it was not like the most expensive car in the world or anything, but for where I live it was considered extremely nice, and I knew it would turn some heads. I worked hard for it though, so I did not really care if I caused a few neighbors to be jealous of me for a little while. The most jealous person of all though was my neighbor, who for reasons I'm sure you can assume, I'm going to refer to as Karen for this story. Now, Karen was outside her house when I pulled up and parked my new car in the street in front of my house. Our neighborhood does not have driveways, so it is all street parking. Her mouth puckered like she had just swallowed an entire lemon once she saw it was mine, and I knew exactly why. She liked to have the best of everything: the best lawn, the best house, and of course the best car. While the first two are debatable, it was clear she did not have the best car anymore, and I assumed she was just going to have to deal with it. At worst, she would maybe say a nasty comment or two that I couldn't care less about, since I was used to her being like that. What I didn't expect was for how far she was going to take her jealousy, until I went to go to work to find my car gone. I'm not gonna lie, I almost cried because my first instinct was that my car was stolen. My brand new baby that I spent all that time saving up for was just gone, and I had no idea what to do about it. The street parking was legal, so the idea of being towed had not even crossed my mind a single time. It was not until I checked my cameras that I could just barely see that my car was being towed away. The camera was not really meant to see the street view, but there was one moment that I was able to see the name of the tow company and immediately looked it up for a phone number. Tow company: hello? Me: yes, hello, I live at address, and you towed my car away last night even though I was parked legally. I would like to get my car back. Tow company: I'm sorry sir, I don't recall a tow in that area. Can I get a car description? I describe the car and even give my license plate number while I sit on hold for a while. Tow company: there is not a car here like that, so I think you're mistaken. Me: wait, I have on camera one of your tow trucks taking my car away. Tow company: oh well, now that you mention it, I do see a note here in my computer. I can tell he is nervous, and I'm getting really tired of whatever he is trying to pull, so I cut him off right there. Me: I want to know what happened to my car, and I want to know right now, or I'm going to be coming down there with the police. You towed me illegally and now claim that you don't even have the car? Tow company: alright. Through a very long and confusing conversation that is frankly too long to post all of it, I found out that the owner of the tow company is friends with Karen. She called him and convinced him to tow my car away from my house as some sort of sick jealousy revenge. Then, instead of bringing it to them, he towed it to the middle of nowhere so that Karen could come and take what she wanted from inside of my car. As you can probably guess, I was fuming by the end of the entire thing and hung up on the owner, telling him that I was going to be calling the police on all of them. I did just that, as well as getting a friend to drive me 30 miles away just to see my car, which was now dirty, broken into, and stolen from. There was not much of value inside of the car, but she for some reason took my work stuff and even the spare tire from my trunk. I wish this story ended with finding out that she was on drugs or something, because then maybe some of this could make a little more sense to me. Anyway, the video was given to the police and the tow company owner sobbed and admitted to the entire thing, trying to throw Karen under the bus for all of this. I don't think he really grew a conscience, I just think he was terrified of going to jail of something. I was suing both of them for this and was mad that Karen was really only going to get in trouble for the things she stole from the car and a broken window. She did not physically tow it, so even though she was the mastermind behind the entire thing, it was mainly the tow company that was getting sued the harshest. They had to pay out fines to me and the city for what they did, but the results of the lawsuit were not the most satisfying parts of the story. Really, it was what happened after with both Karen and her friend. Obviously, everyone knew about this and Karen was seen as the horrible human being she is and tried so hard to mask. I think she was also a little bit scared of me because when I see her, I give her a sharp glare and she looks away like she knows not to even try to mess with me again. As for the tow company, well, nobody in the neighborhood trusted them after what they did, and some of the local stores even switched to another company to do their towing. They went bankrupt pretty soon after, and now Karen was friends with the exact kind of person that she would always look down on. The saddest part, or the best depending on how you see the story, is that he was really her only friend and I don't think he wants anything to do with her anymore. She ruined an entire business and got sued just because I bought a shiny new car and she was jealous. And to be honest, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, jealousy is obviously a very human thing, but personally I would have to think really hard about the last time I was jealous of someone just for some materialistic BS. Maybe that's just me and my personality, because I don't really care that much about expensive things and all that stuff, and I just cannot really fathom how someone like the Karen in the story would go through so many hoops and even break the law just because of jealousy. Did you ever have any jealous neighbors? And if so, what happened? Let us know in the comments. The next one is titled Revenge on a Bully. I worked at a small satellite office, 9 staffers of a much larger organization headquartered elsewhere. The place was a seething snake pit of office politics and the parent organization was even worse. From the first day, everyone gossiped about everyone else to me, so I did not tell them anything I could avoid telling them because I knew anything I said would be immediately told to everyone in the office and weaponized when they wanted to use it. I did assume anyone who spent 5 minutes with me would know or at least suspect that I am gay. I was 40-something, not married, not macho, etc. However, a trio of my women co-workers decided that since I was single and did not look like a player, I must be a virgin, and it was fun for them to try to make me blush. Thus, lots of sexual jokes and innuendo. Apparently, it was their job to tease me into, I'm not sure what, go have intercourse with a woman? I would just walk away and never speak to them about anything not work-related and absolutely necessary. I had been there 8 months and knew I would not last a year. They decided to go full-on mean girls and file multiple complaints about me, but there was not anything to complain about that was an actual infraction. So eventually one of them lied to HR and said I called our boss the old "see you next Tuesday." Right, like I was stupid enough to say that to people who were making my life miserable and who would have instantly gone to our boss with it. One of the 3 women was named Shelly. I don't know if she is the one who made the initial accusation, but she and her 2 friends all lied to HR and said it happened in front of the 3 of them. I was fired for supposedly calling our boss that bad word, and along with a lot of self-righteous anger about it all, I got a better job and moved on. A few years later on Christmas Eve, I was in the post office and someone called my name. I turned to look and for some reason, when I saw her face, I exclaimed, "Darlene!" like it was someone I was thrilled to see. I don't even know anyone named Darlene, have never ever known anyone named Darlene, and I have no idea why I called her that, but then I said, "No, that's not right." She looked like I had thrown water in her face and said, "Shelly." I said, "Oh right, Shelly, I'm so glad to see you because I need to thank you and everyone back there. Because of all the lies you told and the nasty things you did to me to get me fired, this turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I have a great job now with people I love and I make a ton more money, and it's all thanks to you and everyone there." She suddenly looked like she had bitten into a lemon and said, "Well, you have a Merry Christmas." And I walked away. Second edit, I just remembered a small detail you can imagine in a crowded post office on Christmas Eve when a gay man exclaims, "Darlene!" All heads turned to look. It was a small post office, but there were still around 10 or 12 people watching while she corrected her name, and I called her a liar who got me fired. Remembering it made me laugh, and I have not even thought of that woman in 15 or so years. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, that is really one of the huge benefits of being more or less self-employed. You don't really have to deal with any sort of toxic work environments, even though, I mean, sometimes YouTube can be toxic, but usually my community is pretty friendly and I don't really get any crazy hate comments or something. And even then, it probably still would not compare to a really toxic normal work office environment, because I did experience something similar in the past and I would never want to go back to that. Have you ever experienced any sort of toxic work environments? If you wish, feel free to share your own story either here in the comments or on r/ripe stories on Reddit. And the next one is titled, "He Got Caught." When I was in college, I had a weekend job as a security guard in a factory. There was not much to do except answer the phone and keep people from stealing the furniture, so mostly I sat by the back door from 7 AM to 7 PM and did my homework. Sundays were especially quiet since production was shut down, but there were always some maintenance guys working on projects that they could not do during the week. The maintenance foreman in our building ran his little empire like a low-level crime boss. One way he kept control was the weekend job assignments. Obviously, he could not assign a carpenter to a job that required a Blue Seal license or have a painter work on the electrical system. However, he might assign an HVAC tech to work as a plumber's helper. And before anyone asks, this was non-union shop. These helper jobs were very desirable. Even if they were just dragging cable for an electrician, they got paid at their normal rate, and since it was Sunday, they got double time. It was common knowledge that anyone who expected to get these helper shifts better kiss the foreman's butt. And like all crime bosses, the foreman had his small circle of toadies. It seemed that no matter what weekend jobs had to be done, those 4 guys were always scheduled, and of course the foreman was there to supervise. They had a nice little racket going. The shift was 7 AM to 3 PM. The foreman had the key to the time clock in the maintenance shop. He would always roll in at about 9 AM, reset the clock to a little before 7, punch himself and his pals in, reset the clock to a little after 3 PM, and punch them all out. Then he would cycle the power to the clock, which caused it to automatically resync with the master clock in the timekeeper's office. He and his gang were free to come and go at their convenience, and their time cards showed 8 hours. One of the other workers was the only master electrician in the building, a nice guy. He would often sit down and chat for a few minutes about the computer courses I was taking. There was no love lost between him and the foreman. The story was that the foreman got promoted over the electrician because he and the maintenance manager were golf buddies. Somehow he was never given one of these helper jobs, and when he was assigned a job, one of the toadies was always scheduled to be his helper whether he needed it or not. But when it was time to do the work, the helper was hanging out in the maintenance shop watching TV or playing cards. He really could not complain to the foreman or the maintenance manager, so he laid a trap. Every Sunday that he worked, he made a point to drop by my desk at about 2:30 and ask if the foreman and his gang had already left. Unfortunately, at least one of them would still be in the maintenance shop watching football game or golf tournaments on TV. But finally one Sunday they were all gone. He told me that he found a faulty circuit breaker in the electrical panel in the maintenance shop. In order to replace it, he would have to cut power to that area. I dully noted this in my security log. At about 2:45, he cut power to that part of the building. As the rest of the maintenance guys finished their jobs and came back to the shop, I told them then about the power outage. Since the time clock was shut off instead of punching out, they would have to sign out in my security lock. Shortly after, they were gone. The faulty breaker was replaced and power was restored. The clock automatically resynced with the master and the electrician punched out. I left a note for the security manager to be sure to send a copy of my log to the timekeeper. Monday, I was back at school, and when I returned to my dorm room, there was a note on my door to call the security manager. He was in his office with the head timekeeper and they wanted to know about this power outage. Of course, I'm not an electrician, but from my desk I could see into the maintenance shop, and yes, the lights were off for about half an hour. And yes, about a dozen maintenance guys had signed out in my security log. Sorry, I don't recall all their names, but I was especially careful to check each ID badge as they signed out to make sure I entered their names properly in my log. I did not want their pay to get messed up due to my error. So yes, I did see someone working on the time clock. It was the foreman sometime in the morning. And no, I did not think that was strange. He does that every week. I assume it's just regular maintenance. And no, I don't recall when the foreman and those 4 particular guys had come in and left. People come and go all day. As long as they have an ID badge, I really don't pay attention to the exact time. Isn't that what time clocks are for? On Saturday, when I reported for my shift, the electrician stopped by my desk and gave me the rest of the story. After my conversation with the timekeeper, he paid a visit to the vice president who was ultimately in charge of the plant. They called in the maintenance manager, the foreman and his 4 toadies. Perhaps someone could explain why their time cards showed them punching out at 3 p.m. when the clock was not working. So, all 5 were fired. The electrician was promoted to foreman and the maintenance manager was demoted and reassigned. And every time the new foreman had to work on a weekend, he brought me donuts. With this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.